Welcome to my video discussion for this week. We'll be talking about Chadelles today, and I'm going to be speaking to a fictional student. Okay, we're going to call it Mr. X. Hey, Mr. X, welcome to class today. I hope you're well rested, you've eaten, and you're ready to learn some interesting maneuvers. But first, we're going to talk about Chadelles. So what is a chandelle? Okay, now let me tell you what it is. A chandelle is a max performance climbing turn, which begins at a straight level flight and ends after a 180-degree turn with wings level at a nose-high attitude at minimum controllable airspeed, which we also call stall speed. Great. So what does that mean? So let's say you're flying down here, you're going into a canyon by the mountains, and then you see a rising terrain. You assess the area and you don't see a way out. You can't go forward. So what is your best course of action here? It is to make a 180-degree turn and climb as much as you can. How do we do that? We have a maneuver for that. It's called the chandelle. But why do we do this in a check ride? It helps us develop coordination, orientation, planning, accuracy in using flight controls. But in other words, it just makes you an overall better pilot. And it shows that you know how to handle the aircraft. As a CFI, or we did this for commercial training also, for your commercial training here, you should be able to show that you know all aspects of the aircraft while it's flying. So today we're going to be talking about bank and load factor, overbanking tendencies, energy management, and such, and we'll also talk about some common mistakes at the end. But before we start, let's talk about Proverbs 1:5, which says, "Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance." So how does that apply to you? Be wise, ask questions, and seek more knowledge. I'm going to tell you what I know about the chandelle, but somebody else might be able to explain it differently to you and even give you more wisdom about it. All right, so I hope that you know what load factor is at this point. You're a commercial pilot candidate. So with increasing bank, you will have more load factor. At about 60 degrees bank, you'll experience about 2 Gs. And what does that do to the aircraft? It'll increase your stall speed. So instead of stalling at 45, you'll be stalling at 65. And this is important for a chandelle because you are in a bank and you're increasing your speed and you're climbing. So this is the perfect recipe for getting an accelerated stall. So we want to understand how this occurs and try to avoid it. Just for example, if you pull 3 Gs in an aircraft, your stall speed goes from 50 to 85, which is a huge difference. All right, so overbanking tendencies. As you're turning, the aircraft at a certain point wants to turn into the direction in which your bank is. So if you're turning to the left, you're banking to the left, the aircraft might want to go more to the left. And the reason for that is that the wing that is traveling on the outside of the circle of your turn, it'll have to cover the same distance and it has to cover a bigger distance at the same time that your lower wing is traveling that. So in order for it to achieve that, it has to speed up. So as you're turning, this wing is not traveling much, but this wing has to cover a much larger distance here. In order for it to do that, it will speed up. And with airspeed, we get more lift. So what happens is, once you get more lift here, the aircraft wants to tumble over that way. So in order to counteract that, sometimes you have to put in a little bit of aileron to the opposite direction just to keep your bank the same. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but we'll get there. Energy management is huge for a chandelle because you want to end right at the stall speed. You want to be able to continue your climb. You don't want to speed up in the middle of the maneuver. And all of that just boils down to energy management. All right, so let's break it down a little bit. Stage 1 of the maneuver, right? Pre-maneuver. You're clearing the area. You're doing your clearing turns. And you're also going to make sure you're above 1500 AGL. And then you'll pull out your checklist. And the maneuver starts at straight and level. You're going to bug your heading. just to mark where you're starting. And then you're going to identify a 90-degree visual reference to the direction of your turn. Stage 2. It's the first 90 you're turning 180 degrees throughout the whole maneuver. So the first stage is a 90-degree turn. You will go into a 30-degree bank while you're staying coordinated, and then you're going to apply full power and let that nose rise. As the nose rising, you're going to help it with your yoke. But you want to be proficient enough to understand how much to pull and how much airspeed to shed, because you don't want to slow down too early. You don't want to turn too much. You want to stay around 30 degrees. And all of that is the mastery in energy management. At the 90-degree turn, your airspeed should be somewhere between stalling and where you started. And also don't forget about the overbanking tendencies. So the motto for this stage is constant bank, changing pitch. Next, we're going to stage 3, the second half of the maneuver, or the second 90 degrees. It's time to take out some bank. Very, very gradually, you're taking that bank out, but you're keeping your pitch. And in order to do that, we should be using trim, right? Trim, trim, trim. As your airspeed is decreasing, your controls are going to be less effective. So you might have to pull more, add more rudder. Especially you might need more right rudder, or also you might need to add some opposite bank in order to counteract the overbanking tendencies. Constant pitch and changing bank. Now the rollout, you're at 180 degrees point. You're going to go wings level and slowly bring that nose down. You do not want to descend. We don't descend on this maneuver at the ending. So we'll use trim and gradually gain airspeed while maintaining altitude. And we'll utilize our rudder. Here's a little picture for you, broken down for the whole maneuver. As you see, you're ending in the opposite direction in which you started, but you're trying to gain as much altitude as possible. We're not being rated and graded on how much altitude we're gaining, but you want to climb. Common mistakes, I'm just going to go over 3 of them. No clearing turns. Of course, that's a huge mistake. Poor coordination is going to catch up to you in this maneuver. If you're coordinated, you'll be able to climb so much better, and also the maneuver is going to be so much more enjoyable. And you do not want to go wings level before you're done with the maneuver. That is a failure. Here are my references, and thank you for watching.